And this breaking news is coming right from Vancouver, where there were fresh anti-India sloganeering by separatist group SFJ, which is Sikh for Justice group, outside the Indian consulate. Now, remember, this comes at a time when the Indian government is reviewing the security situation of diplomats and diplomatic buildings so that visa services can be resumed. But what we're learning is that there were fresh anti-India sloganeering and protests by separatist group Sikh for Justice outside the Indian consulate in Vancouver. So the tensions between India and Canada continue to escalate, and amid those tensions, we have this information that fresh anti-India sloganeering was done by the separatist group Sikh for Justice outside the Indian consulate in Vancouver. And CNN News 18 Siddhant Mishra is joining us to give us more details about this. Siddhant, over to you.
Well, yes, that's right. And perhaps this heavy sloganeering and protest outside Indian consulate in Vancouver is coming at a time when Indian government is thinking of doing security review of diplomats and diplomatic buildings in Canada so that the visa services can resume. So yesterday at an event here in New Delhi, perhaps External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar really said that he hopes that that visa services will resume soon. And in fact, the top sources in government also confirmed this to us, that they are doing a security review so that a normal person is facing problem because of the situation that has erupted, and perhaps the kind of circumstances in Canada due to the threat to the Indian diplomats and also to the diplomatic buildings in Canada. This decision was taken by Indian government to stop the visa service because it was unsafe for diplomats to travel to their offices every day. So when diplomats won't be able to travel to the offices, how will they be able to issue visa? And that was the reason that India suspended visa services. Now, yesterday we got hints from the Indian government that they are thinking of resuming visa services, and for that the security review is going on, or perhaps will be done. Now, amid this, this protest has happened outside Indian consulate in Vancouver, where again anti-India slogans were raised, pro-Khalistan slogans were raised outside diplomatic building. And perhaps this could again be a setback to the efforts that Indian government is making, or perhaps want to make, because such protest derails the entire process of resuming visa services, or perhaps going back to normalcy. Back to you.
Also, Siddhant, despite the tensions between the two nations, hasn't the security been beefed up outside the Indian consulate in Canada? Because we have been seeing such protests time and again.
Yes, yes. There were some steps which were taken by authorities in Canada, perhaps removing posters and banners, and also providing security to Indian diplomatic buildings at the time of the protest by Khalistani groups. But these protests have become really frequent, and they are not just a protest. The Indian diplomats, their photos are being put up in the posters, and they are being intimidated, they are humiliated publicly, and that is how it is happening. And interestingly, none of these nations, none of the countries from the G7, those who believe that India has violated Vienna Convention by asking for a parity, have ever uttered a single word when Indian diplomats are being targeted, when Indian diplomats are perhaps being intimidated and humiliated by these pro-Khalistani groups. Not once these G7 countries have come out in support of Indian diplomats serving in Canada, or perhaps tried to understand the situation of Indian diplomats. And if you remember, when External Affairs Minister was in New York, was in Washington, D.C., that is perhaps something which he conveyed to his American counterparts, that I have a situation where my diplomats cannot go to their offices because of the threat, because of the security reasons. Now, now under which Vienna Convention does this situation comes, and why the other countries are not taking up the issue of the security of Indian diplomats in Canada? Now, that is something which the other countries, especially the G7 countries, have to clarify, that why they are not talking about the security of Indian diplomats, because we have been seeing, in at least from last 6 months, the way these Khalistani groups put up posters carrying photos of Indian diplomats, the entire contingent, and also making it public, threatening them, releasing threat messages against them, putting these posters in marketplaces, outside high commissions, diplomatic buildings. So that has been going on from last 6 months, but there has been no action at all taken by the authorities in Canada, and perhaps that gives sort of a morale boost up to these groups, and they continue to do this.